You abusuafo for ebe mo bibia kwa abashonko so ere aba Ghana politics avenue so ye be sure bibia say afi eno abedwumade kese we so obe like no share ama so subscribe to the channel say be political trending news be a tree call brema bibia no yenso ya Japan say abusuafo na tifo ye de bebremo and ye call political highway so no ensem bebre and so kote ensem ne be ne say is ano a former chief justice Tokornoo and as ano enhwemu actually ano on mental problem that due to the hair removal na Akuffo assembly bebre crab as ano Mahama ade before akọ the Supreme Court e kwachire mo aka trom say former chief justice no any problem in case or the assembly aba they should bounce it and throw it away cause when ya mental problem and mental health problem didn't ya papa I was for akoya asem a enya asem kito kra e be sure bibia say yenje momre mo so pii yen say momre so yen kona ya yen pa yaso ena ya ni enkoti de Mahama ekafa Tokornoo ho do bibia ase.
Sometimes when you are dealing with women you want to be charitable, especially those that are nearing 76. Madam Sophia Kufu is almost 76. And so sometimes memory may even fail in terms of recollection of certain activities.
Would that not be an unfair statement?
No, it can't happen, maybe. That's why I use the word maybe. But if indeed she recollects everything, the summary of what she did in the interview can be classified under 3 broad categories. She was not honest as she tried to portray. She only did what she did because she has familiar relationship with the removed Chief Justice on 3 fronts. First of all, Sophia Kufu is an old girl of Wesley Girls High School. And you have Tokornoo also being a Wesley Girls High School old girl. Secondly, she has occupied the position of Chief Justice before. Tokornoo was being removed from the position of a Chief Justice. And that they are all women. I challenge her to tell us from heart to heart that indeed she was honest with what she was asked. The president of the land, John Mahama, behaved within the Council of State is made up of about 31 members. That's the case. We understand that 30 members voted for the establishment of the referendum facility.
And 1 abstained.
And 1 abstained. Now, granted she was the 1 abstained. If indeed she is truthful, she is honest to herself, why did she not vote against it? So that we know that right from the beginning, you were against it. This is an afterthought. She's a dishonest woman. Chief Justice, does she know what it means to be a Chief Justice? It means you are above all of us in terms of being truthful, being honest to your position. That even 1 city, if I am unable to account for 1 city, I should be pardoning you as a Chief Justice. If 1 city misses from your coffers, you have to be punished. How much more 200-something thousand plus that we are talking about?
That's why she argues that they should have used discretionary.
Who is that discretion? Madam, if you are enjoying, you are a member of the Council of State. For Christ's sake, you have sworn an oath of secrecy. You have put all your members under the bars. So how do you go back and work with them? You see how serious adults population are behaving in this country. Most of them are the reason why we are where we are. These millennials, the baby boomers. No, these are the baby boomers. They have destroyed a lot of lives. I want to challenge her to, if she says she's honest, she should send back that land she bought at Cantonment for 7,000 cities. Do we sell land at 7,000 at Cantonment? Arrogance, pomposity, and disrespect for the people of this country is what has led her to where she finds herself. Who buys land at Cantonment for 7,000 cities? This is what they have been doing to the innocent souls of this country. And when they grow, and when their kids grow, they will come and tell me, my kids, that your parents didn't, as it were, regulate themselves well. They are mobile. So, nobody must take what she says serious. It's a propaganda piece. But I'm very happy that it didn't fly. Because the people of this country knows what has happened in the last 8 years and what ought to be done to strengthen our judiciary. Myself, I have about 5 judges that I'm going to petition for them to be removed. They have no business being there. They are killing the judiciary that, contrary to what Sophia, Kufu, and her naysayers are saying, has been wicked, would rather be toughened. All the bad laws in the judiciary will be sacked so that we can move on as a nation. We are not going to sit back.
Start from appointment, then we appreciate it.
Right.
And I'm saying that before you are appointed to the Supreme Court of Ghana, there's a procedure that has been provided for.
In the Constitution.
A provision in the Constitution that must be applied or obeyed, which is Article 144.
Okay.
And that means that that is applicable to all justices of the Superior Court of Judicature, which means that High Court, Court of Appeal, Supreme Court, these are the superior courts.
Right.
Justices of Supreme Court specifically, they all come under the 144.
Okay.
So there's no provision anywhere where there's express procedure for appointment of a Chief Justice. So I want you to appreciate that perspective first. If there was no difference between the removal, let's not create create an impression as though there's a separate procedure for removal of a Superior Court of Judicature Justice and that will be
Because
the
of
CJ.
time, what is the striking difference of her being the Supreme Court judge? Because I think that's where the issue.
So I'm saying that when you look at who is qualified to be appointed as a justice of a superior court, you must look at someone who has a proven moral character.
Could it be that she can be removed by the Chief Justice and maybe perhaps still be in the Supreme Court?
That's what I'm trying to explain. I'm saying that
it is not
somebody must have a proven moral character. You understand? High moral character and proven integrity.
Right.
Those are the fundamental requirements for somebody to be appointed as a justice of the Superior Court. That does not, there's no provision where some additional requirements have been put in place for appointment as a Chief Justice.
Okay.
So you see, it's an amalgamated or a fused thing.
Right.
Once you meet these requirements, that is
And
enough.
she doesn't meet the requirement based on the...
No, she met it because the appointment to that,
As at the time of the removal.
that was the assumption. You met it.
Right.
Now, when you have met it and you are there, your conduct as a Chief Justice or even a Superior Court of Judicature judge is again measured by what we call stated misbehavior.
Right.
For you to be there, there's a certain minimum requirement which you have met. Whereas even if you have not met it, once the appointment has gone through Parliament and all that, it's assumed that you have met it. So let's let it slide. Now, when you are there, it doesn't mean you are going to be operating in perpetuity without anybody checking you. Checks and balances. The ordinary citizens like us have a responsibility to check your conduct at the bench. That's why when we see anything that suggests that you have engaged in any act of stated misbehavior, the petition can come. And I'm saying that when a petition comes for the removal of a justice of a superior court, example, the Supreme Court judge, it doesn't mean that a different petition or procedure is provided for the removal of a Chief Justice. Right. You are a Chief Justice by virtue of the fact that you are a Superior Court Justice in the first place. So you are only given that title to now distinguish you from the others in terms of you having oversight, responsibility. It's not like anything extraordinary that requires special procedure. That's why in the Constitution you don't see that there's a special procedure for appointment of CJ. But when the CJ is not there, there's a special thing to consider, which is around the judges of the Supreme Court, the senior most should now take over when he or she is unavailable or is not available. But there's nothing saying that the senior most person must be appointed as a CJ, which means that you are all equal. But somebody must be identified amongst you, just for purposes of administrative leadership. That's why in the Constitution, in terms of supervisory role, administrative functions, she does it in terms of empaneling. Right. You cannot all be empaneling, they will be chaos. So I'm saying that, so there's no provision where a removal for you is distinctively different. It is only to recognize you because you are the CJ with additional responsibilities of supervision and also empaneling and other related activities by way of judicial function. When the removal now relates to you, we are going to depart from the normal thing where the president gives the petition and gives to you as CJ. Now creating to look like there's a separate appointment procedure for CJ and the other justices to the Supreme Court. No. And for which reason there must be a corresponding distinct procedures for the removal. Once you are a superior court judge, for instance, Supreme Court justice, automatically, whatever grounds made the CJ a member of the Supreme Court, remember even as a CJ, you are still a member of the Supreme Court. So inherently, you are to be bound by the same procedure, except that they might recognize that because you have that additional responsibilities or roles, we will not allow the petition to come to you.
Right.
That's the distinction. So let's not create any interpretation when there is none. Indeed, in one of the applications of the removed CJ herself, before her own colleagues at the Supreme Court, Justice Tanko, by way of dictum, indicated that there is an amalgamated office where you are a justice of the Supreme Court and a CJ is an amalgamated one, fused one.
And concluded that the Israeli authorities and the Israeli security forces committed 4 of the 5 genocidal acts defined by the 1948 Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, namely killing, causing serious bodily or mental harm, deliberately inflicting conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of the Palestinians in whole or in part, and imposing measures intended to prevent deaths. This is a UN report. You understand? So it is clear what Israel is doing, not just in Gaza, but in the West Bank and East Jerusalem. I mean, it's very clear what Israel is doing. Now, I think it was Safuhime London who posed a very important question, which is, I mean, how did we allow Hitler to thrive? We have regrets that we sat back and allowed Hitler to commit genocide and allowed Hitler to push the war into, a war with devastating consequences for many countries and so on. Okay? And today we regret. But you see, to be honest with you, and I try to be very, very honest about these things, 1945 is different from 2025. To the extent that what Hitler started led to a world war. What Israel has started can lead to what is described as a thermonuclear war. And if a thermonuclear war should break out, everything we know about the world will be destroyed. The world as we know it today will cease to exist. That's how grave the senseless Israeli aggression and genocide is. It can lead to the destruction of the entire world. I was talking about the government's, strengthening of its position on the situation in Palestine and so on. But more importantly, I think it's significant to note that the Ghanaian people are also acting in diverse ways in solidarity with the people of Palestine. And it's the people of Ghana from all walks of life, from all religious beliefs and so on. You know that the Israeli embassy announced the holding of an Israeli film festival, strangely, in collaboration with one of our public universities and some hotels and so on. As a result of pressure mounted by 40 organizations in Ghana, 40 organizations in Ghana came together and to mount pressure. Kempinski Hotel, which was initially advertised as a sponsor of the event, issued a public statement distancing itself from the event. And I want to salute the management of Kempinski Hotel you know, for taking this decision, you know, this decision of refusing to identify with the genocide which is being committed against the Palestinian people and so on. Now, I've been part of this protest, and for the last 2 days, we've been picketing the Silverbird Cinema Hall where the event is being held. You know, on the very first day, I saw some very prominent Ghanaians trooping in to take part in this atrocious manifestation of support for the Israeli genocide, the killing of children, and so on. And amongst the people who trooped in was a minority leader, Honorable Afenyo Makin, who is a very good friend of mine, and indeed, he claims that we are even related by blood. So I walked up to Afenyo Makin and said, Afenyo, what brings you here? Are you not embarrassed? Why are you here? And he gave me a response which is typical of most of our leaders. And his response simply was that, oh, this is diplomacy. I was invited by the embassy and I feel compelled to show up. Of course, that answer reveals that deep down he has no commitment, you know, to solidarity with Israel in the wake of this genocide and so on. But it also betrays a certain lack of understanding. Diplomacy is about upholding standards of decency and so on. But that apparently was lost on him. Now, yesterday we went to picket the same venue. And for those of you who know Silverbird Cinema Hall, it's a big, beautiful hall. There were less than 20 people in that room yesterday. Less than 20 people. It was empty. The film festival was held in a virtually empty hall. And I'd like to salute the people of Ghana. I'd like to salute all of those who took part in that protest. I'd like to salute the economic freedom fighters, the International Socialist Organization, the Socialist Movement of Ghana, the All African People's Revolutionary Party, and so on. So many, 40 of them, prominent citizens like Nikwate O, who took part in the first day of protest. And Nikwate O is 81 years old and he was on the picket line. I mean, Nikwate, please, my salute. 81-year-old man was on the picket line. And people like Dr. Yao Graham and so on, you know, Professor Titua Menu and so on. I think that we are proud of all of you for showing that there is still some decency left in the world and in our country. That film festival is supposed to continue today. And I'm expecting that larger numbers of people will be out there to picket. In fact, my prediction is that today the room will be completely empty. You won't even get the less than 20 people who showed up yesterday. And this is a commentary about Ghana and its people. Ghana and its people led the national liberation struggle in Africa. We provided our resources. We've been engaged in solidarity with the Cuban people, with the Saudi Arab Democratic Republic, and so on. That Ghanaian tradition continues to burn alive, and Israel will not succeed in Ghana. I'm hoping that very, very soon, I'm hoping, and I'm urging that Ghana breaks diplomatic relations with Israel, and we send the Israeli ambassador back home to send a signal to Israel and the world. Look around the world. European countries are recognizing the state of Palestine. You know, European football federations are saying that, look, if Israel qualifies for the World Cup, they will pull out. Recently, there was a cycling competition in Spain. 150,000 Spanish poured into the streets in protest. The Spanish Prime Minister has made an eloquent speech against the genocide which is being committed against the Palestinian people. I'm confident that decent people around the world will succeed in putting an end to this genocide. Even in the US Congress, I mean, recently President Trump made a statement that the support for Israel in the US Congress has weakened. That's a significant statement to be made by somebody like Donald J. Trump. You understand? So we are winning, we win. I mean, the struggle against apartheid took the same turn, apartheid in South Africa. We got to the point where the Western powers declared the ANC and Mandela as terrorists and so on. But as we intensified the struggle, as the masses in the capitalist states rose up and took to the streets and so on, they were compelled to recognize Mandela as a national hero, as an international symbol of struggle against racism and so on. And eventually, apartheid was defeated, largely due to the sacrifices that were made by Cuban internationalist forces who defeated the apartheid army in the Battle of Quito Carnaval. We will succeed to defeat Israeli aggression.
Nyankopon show bi bia waje bread ya hwede media bedroom people so we do bi bia say how no me Ghana politics happen so Bernard ya hwede do people so we are like share subscribe to the channel and send away political trending news we are go tree cover ma be ano anom na waje penny say oni e be ya twuma ba politics on sense mo Chief Justice removal Tokornoo hon sense na e do hon komo as see ano or the become a Supreme Court say o see a president Mahama so amount on big time. It will be pure bread, you heard my dear way. I said, now I feel so. Hannah, Mam, coin, 7 from Akroma.